A love story so powerful it survived Hollywood's brightest lights and darkest storms. A story where two people, scarred by their pasts, found each other and built something real, something enduring. That's the story of Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. For years, the world watched them shine as Hollywood royalty, but behind the glamour, their marriage faced trials that would have broken most couples. Now, at 80, Michael Douglas has finally shared the truth about their journey together, a truth filled with pain, resilience, and a love that refused to give up. If their story touches you, stick with me, because this is a tale of two hearts that fought to stay together against all odds. Michael Douglas was born into a world of fame, but it wasn't the golden life it seemed. Born on September 25, 1944, to Kirk Douglas, a Hollywood legend, and Diana Dill, an actress with a strict sense of duty, Michael grew up under the weight of a famous name. To the world, his father was a star, but to young Michael, he was a voice missing from birthdays and holidays. When his parents divorced in 1951, Michael was only 7, and the split left a hole in his heart. Living with his mother and her new husband, William Darrid, Michael found some stability, but the Douglas name followed him like a shadow. At school, he was Kirk's son before he was ever just Michael. Visits to film sets were exciting but lonely, watching his father glow under the spotlight while feeling miles away. Michael once said he spent years trying to step out of that shadow, to be seen for who he was, not who his father was. That pain shaped him, turning a boy's heartbreak into a man's determination. While Michael carried the weight of a famous name, Catherine Zeta-Jones grew up far from Hollywood's shine. Born on September 25, 1969 in Swansea, Wales, she came from a simple home with a baker father and a seamstress mother. Life wasn't easy, and at just a few years old, Catherine faced a terrifying illness. A viral infection nearly took her life, and doctors had to perform an emergency tracheotomy to save her. The scar on her neck became a mark of survival, but it also made her a target for cruel whispers at school. Kids stared and laughed, and Catherine felt the sting of being different. But instead of hiding, she decided to shine. Her parents used a lottery win to pay for dance and singing lessons, and by age 4, Catherine was performing in church, her voice bigger than her tiny body. At 11, she played Annie on stage, and by 13, she was lighting up London's West End in Bugsy Malone. She left school at 15 to tour with a theatre show, giving up a normal childhood for a dream that demanded everything. Catherine later said the stage was her safe place, where she could turn fear into strength. Her scar wasn't a weakness, it was proof she could survive anything. Michael's path to stardom was a fight to prove himself. In the 1960s, he studied drama at the University of California, Santa Barbara, but even there his father's name loomed large. Kirk once told him acting wasn't his strength, words that cut deep and echoed for years. Michael didn't give up. He pushed harder, taking small roles in films like Hail Hero in 1969, earning a Golden Globe nomination, but critics still whispered that his success came from his last name. So he chose gritty roles in movies like Adam at 6 a.m. and Summertree, proving he could stand on his own. His big break came on TV with The Streets of San Francisco from 1972 to 1976, where he earned 3 Emmy nominations. Then, at 31, he produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975, a film his father couldn't get made. It won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, and Michael finally stepped out of the shadow. He went on to star in hits like The China Syndrome, Romancing the Stone, Fatal Attraction, and Wall Street, where he won an Oscar for Best Actor in 1987. Each role was a battle, a way to silence the doubts and show the world he was more than just Kirk's son. Catherine's rise was just as fierce. After shining on London's West End, she faced Hollywood's harsh reality. Her beauty opened doors, but it also trapped her. Early films like 101 Nights in 1995 flopped, and she worried she'd never be taken seriously. Back in England, she became a star on TV with The Darling Buds of May from 1991 to 1993, but the TV beauty label felt like a cage. Hollywood roles in films like Christopher Columbus, The Discovery and The Phantom didn't show her true talent. Critics focused on her looks, not her skill, and it hurt. But Catherine refused to stay boxed in. When Steven Spielberg saw her in a TV miniseries, he recommended her for The Mask of Zorro in 1998. She trained hard, doing her own stunts, pushing through bruises and falls. The film was a hit, and suddenly the world saw her strength. She followed it with Entrapment, Traffic and Chicago in 2002, where she won an Oscar while pregnant with her daughter, Caris. Catherine didn't just shine, she fought for every moment of that light. While their careers soared, their personal lives carried heavy scars. Michael married Deandra Luca in 1977, and they had a son, Cameron, in 1978. But fame pulled Michael away, and the marriage grew quiet. A skiing accident in 1980 shook him, but it couldn't fix the distance between him and Deandra. By 2000, after 22 years, they divorced. And Michael later said the silence in those years was his biggest regret, especially for Cameron, who struggled with addiction and later went to prison. Catherine, too, faced heartbreak. In her 20s, she dated John Leslie, but his jealousy suffocated her, and she left. An engagement to Angus MacFadyen fell apart just before the wedding, leaving her heartbroken at 27. The press hounded her, turning her private pain into headlines. Both Michael and Catherine carried wounds, his from a marriage that faded into silence, hers from promises that broke too soon. Then in 1998, their paths crossed at the Deauville Film Festival. Michael was 53, Catherine was 28, and they shared the same birthday, September 25th. To Michael, it felt like fate. He boldly told her, "You're going to be the mother of my children." Catherine, cautious after past betrayals, smiled but kept her guard up. But Michael didn't give up. He sent flowers and a heartfelt apology for his forwardness. And soon they were talking for hours over the phone. For 9 months, they shared their fears and dreams, building trust. On New Year's Eve 1999, Michael proposed with a vintage diamond ring in Aspen. Catherine said yes, not to the glamour, but to the man who listened. They married on November 18th, 2000 at the Plaza Hotel in New York, with their newborn son, Dylan, in their arms. The 25-year age gap raised eyebrows, but they ignored the noise. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was real. Their marriage became a balancing act. They welcomed Dylan in 2000 and Caris in 2003, choosing to raise them in Bermuda, far from Hollywood's chaos. Michael wanted to give his kids the presents he never had. Catherine loved watching them ride bikes on quiet streets, free from cameras. Both kept working, Michael in films like Behind the Candelabra, where he won an Emmy, and Catherine in Wednesday playing Morticia Adams, but home was where they found peace, with family dinners and walks by the sea. They built a life where love, not fame, came first. But storms came. In 2010, Michael was diagnosed with tongue cancer at 66. For 7 weeks, he endured brutal treatments, losing 40 pounds and struggling to speak. Catherine stood by him, helping him fight. When he beat the cancer in 2011, they celebrated quietly with a family trip to Disney World. Then Catherine faced her own battle. After Caris's birth, she struggled with depression and mania, checking into treatment in 2011 and 2013. She spoke openly about her mental health, refusing to hide. But the biggest blow came when Michael linked his cancer to HPV in an interview. The media twisted his words, suggesting infidelity and tearing into their marriage. Catherine felt betrayed, and in 2013 they separated. The world thought it was over. But they didn't give up. By 2014, they were rebuilding, choosing therapy and time over divorce. They came back stronger, celebrating 15 years in 2015 and their first grandchild in 2017. Michael, now 80, and Catherine, 55, live a quieter life. They split their time between New York, Bermuda, and Spain, focusing on family and their foundation, which supports health and education. Michael calls this his season of gratitude, measuring life by moments with Catherine and their kids, not awards. Catherine picks roles carefully, staying grounded with Pilates and cooking. Their home is peaceful, all now, filled with shared walks and laughter. Their story isn't about perfection, it's about surviving cancer, mental health struggles, public scandals, and separation. They learned love isn't about avoiding storms, but holding hands through them. Michael once said, "We don't need the spotlight to see each other anymore." Catherine called them survivors, not stars. Their love endured because they chose to stay, to forgive, to rebuild. That's the truth Michael shared at 80, a truth about a marriage that faced the worst and came out stronger. If this story moved you, hit that like button to honor two people who never stopped fighting for love. Share it with someone who needs to hear that love can survive anything. And subscribe for more stories of real people facing real challenges. Let's keep their hope alive together.